as in Cabaret was more welcoming. With the threat of a Nazi invasion over Europe, Evelyn faced restrictions on travelling abroad, but when the Second World War broke out in 1939, the BBC welcomed her. The warmth and sincerity in Evelyn's singing appealed to the British public, who found themselves under threat from Hitler and the Nazis. After the war, Evelyn enjoyed television stardom as one of the BBC's foremost star personalities of the new medium. Evelyn was the first black British woman to make an impression in the world of entertainment, as a singer and as a star of revue, variety theatres, cabaret, and the BBC. She ventured far and wide to Europe, India, and America, but there were limitations. The world was not ready for a black British woman to make a success in show business on a grand international scale, or to conquer America. This would not happen until Shirley Bassey, the Welsh chart topper, was catapulted to fame in the late 1950s. Among Evelyn's possessions is a faded newspaper cutting from the 1950s announcing Shirley Bassey as a rising new star. Someone had sent it to Evelyn and written in the margin, "Do you know this person?" During her lifetime, Evelyn could only have dreamed of the success that Shirley aspired to and achieved, and conquering America. I didn't become aware of Evelyn's existence until the 1980s. I met her friend Isabel Lucas for the first time in 1989 and began to learn more about Evelyn thanks to her. Isabel invited me to her beautiful home in Kingston-upon-Thames, Surrey, to interview her about her acting and singing career for a project I was working on. When she took me into her living room, I was immediately struck by a large and impressive portrait of Evelyn on her wall. "Oh," I exclaimed, "that's Evelyn Dove." Isabel reacted with enthusiasm. "You've heard of Evelyn?" She was surprised when I nodded, and before we started the interview we spent an hour talking about the forgotten star. Isabel explained that Evelyn had been admitted to a nursing home some years ago and had passed away in 1987. In spite of her stardom, there had been no obituaries for Evelyn, not even in the stage newspaper. Isabel told me that after the funeral, she returned to the nursing home to collect Evelyn's possessions and was shocked and upset to discover the trunks containing Evelyn's beautiful stage costumes had been thrown away. But thankfully, a small trunk had been saved and was given to Isabel. In great excitement, Isabel showed me the contents of the small trunk. It included Evelyn's scrapbook, about 60 photographs, some music sheets, theatre programmes, a couple of scripts from stage plays she had acted in, a few postcards, and some magazines in which she had featured, including a 1939 edition of Radio Pictorial. The photographs dated from her childhood in the Edwardian era to the 1960s. There was a mixture of professional portraits and several beautiful shots of her at the BBC in the 1940s. There were private snapshots, including some taken abroad on her travels in Europe and India. It was fascinating to look at these photographs and the changing styles in her dress and stage costumes. Evelyn had taste, and in her heyday, the 1930s and 1940s, her incredible beauty and glamour shone through. I longed to know more about Evelyn. Isabel explained that Evelyn had enjoyed a long and successful career, but it hadn't been without ups and downs. Isabel and I became friends, and she was an invaluable source of information about Evelyn. Not long after befriending Isabel, I contacted Hugh Palmer, who owned a vast collection of 78 RPM recordings. He confirmed that he had some of Evelyn's. She hadn't made many recordings, but Hugh kindly transferred what he had onto a cassette, and it was wonderful to hear the voice of this gifted contralto singing popular tunes of the 1930s such as Cole Porter's My Heart Belongs to Daddy, Judy Garland's theme song Over the Rainbow, and one of my favourite songs, Richard Rodgers and Lawrence Hart's Where or When. Regrettably, the BBC had not saved any of Evelyn's numerous appearances on radio, most of which had dated from the 1940s. Immediately, I sent a copy of the cassette to Isabel, who wrote back to me. "Thank you so much for your letter and the tape of Evelyn Dove. I do agree she had a lovely voice. Yes, the recordings are lovely. Such a wonderful souvenir. I have some pieces of music which she used in her cabaret act. I don't think I ever heard her actually sing by herself, so I hadn't a chance to judge. I'm surprised there are no recordings of her left in the BBC radio archives of the 40s period. I don't really know why her reputation faded.